Okay. I've debated on how I want to do this. Telling this story. I've tried so many different ways of telling it. I've tried doing it professionally. I've tried talking about it in joke format. I've tried doing infographics. I've tried doing FBI complaints. I'm not above interpretive dance at this point in time. Although I don't know how you interpret fraudulent paperwork in dance form. I'm sure there's a way. Maybe tap dancing. Who knows? Anyways, I'm just going to keep talking about it because I can't stop. I mean, I've committed to the bit. You guys see this, right? If I stop, they're literally going to murder me. If I keep screaming and spilling their crimes out on the internet, they might still get away with it, but at least I stay alive since nobody's coming to rescue me. So, I guess today we're going to talk about William First. Let's talk about what William First did here. So, you know, there's a thing, first of all, I just want to talk about respect with government offices. And I do agree that there is some sort of respect that should come with certain offices. But I also believe that in order to receive that respect, you have to fulfill the duties, laws, and terms, the requirements of your position in order to gain that respect. You don't just get respect because of the title. You get the title if you fulfill the role. So if you're not fulfilling the role, I feel like it's within my First Amendment right to speak critically of a person, even if he does hold a position on the bench. You know, quite frankly, I think that judges have the same requirement, according to my readings of the judicial canons. Oh, and trust me, I've read them all. They're supposed to be respectful to us as well. And I was not shown any courtesy from William First. That being said, I think I've done a pretty good job of monitoring my tone when it comes to talking about him, because that's his favorite thing. He hates my tone. He hates my female voice. What a loser. Anyways, what I was trying to say is I'm going to try to curb my personal feelings about William First, even though I think he is totally inept and should not be on the bench. But I'm going to try to keep him to a minimum. So we'll see how that goes. And I'm going to tell you what happened after all this. So, I would imagine by now, most of you that are paying attention are pretty appalled. By the way, thank you to those of you who are new followers. I know there's a lot. This, in my opinion, is literally the largest small-town government conspiracy in American history. Believe me, I've done a thorough cataloging of the internet to try to find something remotely similar, to try and figure out what those people did to save themselves, and apparently they all just got murdered because nobody's survived this, so fingers crossed. Anyways... I had all this information that you've been seeing over these videos. I had the forensic videos. I had the videos of the kid in the corner. I had the recording of Robin Nelson. I had all of this stuff in my hands in the middle of October of 2023. Took me a lot to get it, but I got it all. I'm pretty fastidious about collecting evidence. So I have all this stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this is, these guys are so dumb. They literally made the worst conspiracy in history, and I can prove it. I'm going to be a hero. That's what I thought. I've been patiently waiting for a court date. You know, we were set for one originally October 9th. You remember I talked to you about that in one of the previous parts. Who knows, part 7. I don't know what part we were in. But you've heard that there was a hearing October 9th. My client didn't make it. He was having chest pains, which turned out to be anxiety. But we had to continue the hearing because I wasn't going to have him implicate his Fifth Amendment right. And I actually should have said invoke his Fifth Amendment right. Whatever. I'm just laying in bed talking about this because what else am I going to do? I'm unemployed. So, anyways... Back to the story. I wasn't going to have him invoke his Fifth Amendment right. I wasn't going to do that. And, I had his criminal lawyer involved. She's like, this case is ridiculous. This is like the worst investigation ever. I was like, I know, girl, right? Like, these guys are dumb. And we both just were confident that this was going to go away. And I wasn't even going to talk my client into suing. I was just going to be like, yeah, move on. They're stupid. I'll turn Don Wilson into freaking Phil Weiser and we'll let that stupid asshole handle it. Oh, God, if I'd only known that all of the things that I'd been told about the government were just total lies. They don't follow any of their own rules. At least not in my experience, they don't. They change them willy-nilly whenever it suits them. And all of the processes that are put in place that are supposed to protect us from overreach by a government actor, Yeah, none of them work. So, anyways, I digress. Let's get back to William first. So, October 9th, we had that hearing. He reset us to, I believe, November 19th, if I remember correctly. And, just so you know, with civil protection orders, there's actually procedural rights that are in the statute that you have an entitlement to a hearing within 14 days of a motion being filed. We agreed to an extension of that because we were waiting for, all the red tape to get resolved in the DA's office and get this dismissal and move on with our lives. And so we agreed to that November 19th date. But then somewhere in the middle of October, I want to say like maybe October 23rd, William FURSE randomly just told us, oh, hey, we're not going to have that hearing. I'm not available that date. And he reset us to December 20th. And I didn't catch it at the time because I was literally dealing with this kind of crap in like 6 other cases at the same time. I was being bombarded. You guys have seen me put cases 1, 2, and 3 out on YouTube before I started talking about this one. This was all happening at the same time. So I didn't pay attention to the fact that William FURSE violated my client's procedural rights by setting that hearing far beyond the 14 days. But regardless, I'm like, well, God, we're not going to get in court for a while, and I got to tell him what's going on with this Robin Nelson situation. This kid's in danger, man. Mom and dad can duke it on all they like, but this child is literally not safe right now from his school professionals and this freaking therapist. What am I going to do? So on October 24th, my client and I sat in the Cortez Library in one of the study rooms. I think it was study room number 3. I had my little totable scanner. We scanned every single one of Robin Nelson's fraudulent Medicaid documents. And we filed a motion for an automatic injunction, temporary injunction on Robin Nelson having any access to the child, as well as the request for a guardian ad litem or a child legal representative, a lawyer for the kid to be appointed to represent his interests. Because we are thinking, oh my God, this kid is a victim of this lady. She's a criminal. We filed that on October 24th, and while we were sitting in the library, I just happened to look in the court record, and I noticed that there was a brand new felony case filed for my client by the Dolores County Sheriff's Office through Jason ELEY, filed that day. New charges, new criminal charges. And I'm like, oh my God, what now? What are these idiots doing now? And you see, Eric STIASNY had taken the forensic interview, his recounting of the forensic interview. He did real creative fiction. I have the videos. I've seen them. What Eric wrote in his report is in those videos. It's not entirely accurate. But he took that document and submitted it with the remainder of incident report number 23225 from the Dolores County Sheriff's Office. And they opened up another felony case on him for some more nondescript child abuse charges that they couldn't ever define and had no evidence for. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm sitting here with a fugitive. Great. And I know why they did it. They were really mad that we got him to turn himself in. They really want him in cuff and shackles. And like I said, the mother called dispatch wondering why his picture wasn't appearing on mobile patrol. I have the CAD report of that. So this clearly was just about vengeance. It was clearly just about retaliation. I see the case. I immediately pay $15 to access it, pull down the nonsense that formed the basis of this claim, saw that Jason ELEY, Hatfield's baby boy, had signed off on the documents, and all Eric STIASNY did was just rearrange the pages. It was the exact same documents they submitted on September 29th. Those idiots. So I called my client's criminal attorney right away, sent her the stuff, and said, oh my God, what should we do? Should I have him turn himself in? I don't know what to do. I'm in the library with him. And so she ends up getting a hold of Jason ELEY, who plays it off like, oh, what? No, I had no idea. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Yeah, no, we'll get it dismissed. And then proceeds to take 2 days to file a request to dismiss it, which we knew was, in my opinion, a setup because they were trying to get my client on something. And I told him, don't you dare go back to Dolores County over the weekend. And he didn't. He stayed in Montezuma County to avoid being picked up on a fictitious warrant again. And we got it quashed. But I have all of this information in my possession. And I'm like, dude, this is insane. Somebody has to tell the court what's going on. And I knew Will FURSE didn't like me, but I never knew his hatred of me was so great that he would turn a blind eye to this. Because he knows everything I'm saying in this recording is 100% true. It's already on the record. And I'm not done pursuing it. We're going to take it all the way to the Colorado Supreme Court. So, long story short, I filed these requests asking for a lawyer for the kid, telling the judge all of this stuff. I've got recordings. I've got Medicaid fraudulent billing. I've got fake child abuse records. And we filed that on October 24th. I think it was a Thursday, maybe a Friday. Over the weekend, Will FURSE denied both of those things and said he didn't find grounds for anything. That's when I knew Will FURSE had joined part of the conspiracy. That's when I knew, right then and there. I should have filed a motion to recuse him right then and there, but I trusted that he wouldn't be so bold as to continue to lay proof of his misconduct on the record. And I also trusted that the systems in place to prevent judicial misconduct would work. But that didn't happen. And we'll get into that more later. But thanks for listening. I'm just going to keep talking about it, I guess. Oh, and if you're so inclined, buy a hat. Don Wilson hats look pretty cool. I tried Christian Hatfield and Will FURSE on a logo, but they both looked real stupid. All right. Bye.